For the hero, the only true conclusion is death. The hero does not cower to death, for that would belittle life. The hero knows he cannot defeat danger, but for a moment, he can free others from fear. Let those left behind find hope in his sacrifice. Let those who knew him well speak of his fierce loyalty, unwavering convictions, and when the time came, his ultimate willingness to give all. Legends live on. Only man comes to an end. This is your only warning.
June 23rd saw the release of the final Batman game from Rocksteady Studios, Arkham Knight. Rocksteady had become a highly respected studio overnight for their fantastic efforts in creating the ultimate Batman simulator, kicking off with Arkham Asylum, and followed it up with Arkham City. In late 2013 we got Arkham Origins, which was handled by a different studio and was met with mixed reviews. It had a fairly weak story and not much variety to its gameplay and focused on way too many fight sequences. Arkham Origins certainly wasn't a bad game and I had fun playing it, but it felt a little rushed and was plagued with many bugs, especially for PC owners, and now Warner Bros. Have currently suspended sales of the new PC release of Arkham Knight because it's a total mess and causing problems for many gamers, another sign not to pre-order games. Thankfully, during the time of Origins release, Rocksteady was working on the third in their series, and after many delays I finally got my hands on it. I'm a huge fan of Batman, but with it only being released on the new generation of consoles, and PC of course, I had to put down the cash and I got myself an Xbox One. Some may argue, why an Xbox? Well, I already had an Xbox Live account, I wanted to play Killer Instinct, and with backwards compatibility being announced at E3, my mind was made up. I had not watched any of the trailers for the game or had been following the production and details of its story, so I went in totally fresh. Trailers for video games do nothing for me. 90% of the time it's just a CG sequence and no game footage, so the trailer is not selling me because I know it's not the actual game I'm seeing. Now, the game of Arkham Knight is set 9 months after the death of the Joker. Gotham's citizens have never felt safer, and crime has dramatically declined. The game begins one Halloween night as the fear-inducing Scarecrow unleashes his newest strain of fear toxin in a diner and declares that all of Gotham has to leave before he releases his toxin throughout the city, forcing all the civilians to evacuate. Only the criminals remain, leaving Commissioner Gordon and the Gotham City Police Department outnumbered, but thankfully they have Batman on their side. Other popular villains including Penguin, Two-Face and Harley Quinn have teamed up to help Scarecrow, but you only really encounter them through side missions, and they aren't the main focus of the story, especially the Riddler, who has captured Catwoman. You have to solve a number of his challenges to set her free, but you can't take him on directly until you solve all the riddles throughout the game, which will be a huge undertaking that I don't plan to do anytime soon. Prior to the Joker's death, he sent off his mutated blood to various hospitals around Gotham City and infected large numbers of the population. Almost all the people were cured in time. A small group of citizens were not treated and are now starting to look and act like the Joker. Batman, with the help of Robin, has the infected in isolation and are monitoring them to find a cure for this latest stage of the infection. Batman meets with Gordon and begins to investigate Scarecrow's presence, which leads him to a rooftop safe house, where Poison Ivy is being held prisoner. After rescuing Ivy and taking her to the police department via his upgraded Batmobile, he meets with Barbara Gordon in the clock tower to collect information on Scarecrow's new toxin. She is able to trace its production to Ace Chemicals. Upon arrival at the plant, he is confronted by the mysterious Arkham Knight, who dispatches his soldiers and large army to take down and kill Batman. The gameplay and controls are fundamentally the same as the previous titles, so it will be very easy to pick up and play. However, there are many practice modes for you to get to grips with the moves and controls if you are new to the series. The fighting has been tweaked and refined, so doing silent takedowns is easier than ever. You have the fear mode that allows you to take down a series of thugs in a row, which is fantastic and is great fun to pull off. You can use it straight away as you approach a group of thugs as you take them by surprise, but if you want to use it again, you have to take down the enemies silently to build up the fear bar. You encounter Catwoman, Nightwing and Robin in your travels, and can team up with them during fights, and switch between them and execute dual takedowns. It's a very welcome extra to the fight scenes, but I just wish there were more of them. I wanted more story elements seeing Robin and Batman working together. When they team up, it captures some of the magic from the cartoon and of course the comics, but sadly it's short and sweet. But you do get the impression within the use of dialogue in the story that Batman enjoys working more with Nightwing than the current Robin. The biggest new addition to the game is of course the Batmobile. With its small cameo in Arkham Asylum, I, like many others, wanted to use his vehicles, and finally they have given us the chance to drive the famous car. However, there has been some criticism about its inclusion. People have been frustrated with the many action scenes where you have to take down endless amounts of tanks. I had a feeling that it may be a lazy inclusion into the game, but thankfully I've had a great time using it. It's great watching Batman jump in and out of the car and bombing down the Gotham streets, smashing into the criminals as they chase after you. If you've played Burnout Paradise or Transformers War for Cybertron, controlling the Batmobile will be a walk in the park for you, as you transform the car into its tank mode. I did encounter frustrating moments when getting outnumbered by the enemy, but it requires practice and skill to complete these battles. The game won't hold your hand, just make sure you upgrade your armour for the car and increase its reload speed when you get the chance. I found using the EMP a bit pointless, I just focused on using the rockets when able to do so. The game comes with the Harley Quinn DLC. You play as Harley as you break into the Gotham police station and rescue Ivy and take on Nightwing, but it only lasts for like 20 minutes. It's painfully short and a bit of a waste for extra DLC. I was expecting more, to be honest, and felt there was a lot more to tell with her story. It's free, so I can't really complain, but it's kind of a waste of storage space, and should just be an unlockable once you complete it, or when you encounter her in the game. A season pass is over £30. If all the DLC extras are going to be this short, I will probably save my money. When you do complete the game, you have new story mode, where you start the game again with all the weapons and upgrades you obtained in your first playthrough. The game has all the familiar VR challenge matches and gives you a chance to replay some of the Batmobile sequences to improve your skills. The graphics for the game are very impressive, very detailed backgrounds and character models. It maintains its frame rate throughout the game, and there is barely any loading, only on startup and when you die, so driving in the car from one section of the city to the other is seamless. I did encounter the odd bit of slowdown, usually when you're in your car and things get way too hectic on screen, but it's only happened a couple of times. It never froze on me, and playing it for long periods of time, it was a bug-free experience. The music for the game is very similar to what we've heard in the previous titles in this series. It sounds very much like Hans Zimmer's approach, setting the mood of the game and with strong percussive beats during the action scenes. I felt the music was mixed a lot quieter than before. The Batman theme for the game often sounds a bit too quiet, and the rest of the music is often quite forgettable. It would have been nice to go full force with the score to add a stronger impact to the scenes and add further to the cinematic feel it so strongly conveys with its visuals and tone. On startup, the game required a 3.5GB install and a further 1GB later on when I believe they added a further patch. It's not a drain on your storage space, but what is very much evident with the new consoles, the updates are often huge. Some of my close friends have warned me that even 500GB is not enough, and it's true. You could have 5 games on your console and your memory is nearly all gone. If Microsoft and Sony want people to take advantage of downloading games, they really need to sort out compressing some of these updates. Killer Instinct required an 18GB update the other day. It's bloody ridiculous. I've only got 3 games and half my memory is gone. I have a good download speed in my area, but if the servers are slow or you have a poor connection where you live, you're going to be sitting for hours wasting electricity in an attempt to play the game. Gone are the days of just slapping in a disc and playing a game straight away. Arkham Knight's world is certainly not as large as GTA 5, but it's big enough to create a believable city that has many side streets and hidden areas, and you always find new sections you haven't visited before. The roads have been widened considerably to fit the new Batmobile and other vehicles on the road. I managed to find the Lex Corporation building, and there is an area of Gotham called Otisburg, A nice nod to Superman the movie, perhaps.
Otisburg? Where's this monster? She's got her own place, Mr. Otisburg? It's a little bitty place. Otisburg?
I found Arkham Knight to be a great experience. I couldn't stay away. I played it for over 7 hours straight in one day and felt a bit spaced out afterwards. The game is a time sponge. You only have to do a couple of missions and an hour or two has gone by. The story just sucks you in and you can't stop playing it. As with all Rocksteady Batman games, the stories have been very detailed and involved. It manages to squeeze in all the villains without it feeling forced upon the story's narrative. What I love about its visual design is that it borrows a lot from the movies and comics. It's got a similar lighting design to Batman Forever, the industrial gothic look of Tim Burton's Batman, the familiar voices of the famous cartoon series, and the realism of the Nolan trilogy. So there is something in there for every Batman fan. I don't want to reveal too much of the plot because there are a lot of twists and turns and big surprises throughout. I'm sure many Batman fans know who the Arkham Knight is, but when he was revealed it was a big shock to me. As the story unfolds, it feels a bit like Dark Knight Rises, seeing Gotham descend into complete chaos, and it also has a similar vibe to Batman Begins, so it nicely tips its hat to the recent Nolan films, but twists things in a different direction to give you something new. Once Batman starts losing the plot and seeing visions, things go mental, so it's probably not recommended for kids to play. It is an 18 rated game after all, but that won't stop them. I've completed about 90% of the game, but I still want to continue with it and may redo the story again later in the year. I think I've spent over 20 hours playing it so far. It will probably take you about 11 hours to complete the main story, but it's so much more fun doing the side missions to give you some variety to the gameplay. There are some nice little detective style missions, and the Batmobile mixes it up so you don't end up fighting thugs constantly. Alfred will often encourage you to complete the side missions, so you don't solely focus on the main objective. It nicely extends the life of the game. It's a highly recommended game and a must own. I would happily give it 9 out of 10. I love dedicated single player games. There has been a huge trend for a long time to focus on multiplayer, and single player was often pushed aside, so it's great to see a return to a single player story driven experience. It's a shame Rocksteady won't be producing any more Batman games, but fingers crossed they will tackle another superhero. I think Superman deserves a chance at a decent game. However, I'm sure this won't be the last Batman video game in this style. Warner Brothers will probably milk the franchise some more in the coming years, but let's hope they maintain the level of quality that has been exhibited in this great series.